For USCFootball.com, I'm Jack Smith, joined alongside Chris Treviño for instant analysis from USC's Tuesday morning practice and a weird, rainy, gross day, Chris. The weather, not good.
Yeah, this morning I thought maybe it was going to be our first instant analysis together in the pouring rain, because this morning on the way here, just pouring rain. The freeways above were gushing water. It was that kind of morning. But right now, Jack, absolutely gorgeous, blue skies, no smog, no nothing. Rain washed out all the way. Cold for the players. A lot of them were in sweatpants today. And reminder, while this is a Tuesday practice, we only got to see a little bit from warm-ups. But for the most part, a beautiful day right now, ugly this morning.
Yeah, definitely, and it's a weird kind of weather day. It's a weird week for the Trojans because they play on Friday, which means a lot of things that need to change. Lincoln Riley, who we got to talk to today, mentioned that player schedules are changing, whether it's practice or classes. So there's a lot of different preparation that goes into being on a short week. What did you think about what Lincoln and some other players had to say?
I know this is obvious, but Jack, it is a short week, so you literally lose a whole day. You're literally losing 24 hours of prep, and that's where kind of the emotional and physical stress come on the team, because they have to cram so much in such a short amount of time. And it does help, Colorado isn't the best team, so that does help. It's not do or die, but this team is taking it very seriously in that, this is a team that they're preparing for, and they're just like any other team. And, guys talked about how, it's something they just have to get over. Shane Lee was asked about it. It's just something they just have to do. It's not ideal losing a whole day of prep and how it changes everything. Everyone's schedules are different. The Monday classes are there, something they're dealing with, and all that stuff going on. But it's just something they have to go through. It's something they have to get through, and they will get through.
Yeah, I asked defensive lineman Tui Pelotu about what changes for the defense and him respectively when they're on a short week, and he said because you lose a whole day of practice, that's a whole day of plays that you're not getting, so you really got to take every one play that you have in each play with the utmost intensity, making sure you're getting the most out of it, because you're lacking a full day, and USC is at least home for this one, so they don't have to travel early. But there's a lot of weird things that change along the bye week. What did you think about what some of them had to say about how it's easier for them to prepare for a Colorado game against a bye week and also get over some of the performances the last couple of weeks that they weren't completely proud of?
It is an interesting game because, let's be honest, Colorado, not that great. Worst team in the Pac-12, one of the worst teams both offensively and defensively in the nation. And you have right on the horizon, Jack, UCLA, which is going to be the game that defines what happens for the Pac-12 championship race, and then Notre Dame right after that. So you have two big games, and on paper you're looking at like, hey, this might be a trap game, but you don't want to overlook Colorado despite how bad they are. You don't want to get caught sleeping. But all the guys talked about how the short week kind of helps you get over that, because you don't have enough time. You have a whole day of less preparation, so you have a better sense of urgency to get prepped for this game. So that kind of helps take away that feeling of maybe USC is going to overlook the Buffaloes looking ahead to the Bruins or anything like that. So just being on a short week and that sense of urgency that it creates helps them, kind of get over that feeling of maybe we're not going to take these guys lightly. And even Caleb Williams talked about how, their record and, all those stats, they don't play into their favor, but what he sees on team is a team that just hasn't given up. They're still fighting out there. So, can't take anyone lightly in college football, but, USC is doing their best to get through this week so they can kind of prepare for those two big games on the horizon. But the Buffs coming to town, I think they'll be ready to handle them.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing Lincoln Riley said past some of the short week stuff was something that we all noticed, where the defense and the offense, while they've had their stretches so far this season, and at least recently with the defense playing well in the first half, the offense playing well in the second half, they haven't found a way to make it work at the same time, where the offense and defense aren't clicking, and that's where you get those dominating blowout performances. That's where those big wins come from. What did you think about what he had to say about that?
Yeah, and that was a question specifically asked about Alex Grinch and Grinch's personal assessment of how hard he was on himself in Saturday's win over Cal in that defensive performance. But it was an interesting thing to say, when the offense is playing well, the defense hasn't been up to par. Or when the defense is playing well, the offense has been sputtering. And we have been searching for that complete game from USC. And the closest I think we've ever gotten it was, that first quarter of the Utah game, where USC's offense were putting up points. USC's defense was stopping the Utes, and then, a call goes, and then everything turns into what happened at Utah. But that's the closest we've seen, and we're still looking for that complete, full performance. Might it be this week with a really bad offense coming to town? Maybe, but that's a confidence boost they'll need going into that UCLA game. But yeah, like you said, it was very interesting in how, Lincoln said his assessment is the same pretty much that Alex Grinch's assessment was, that they stunk. They stunk first half offensively in the Cal game, and they stunk in the Cal game defensively as well. So that was, his takeaway. And, he said Alex Grinch is a professional, and this isn't his first rodeo, and they're going to get down to business, and they're going to do their best to fix it. But it's just something that everyone's kind of been waiting on. It's like, when is the defense going to get fixed? When is the defense going to get fixed? And Shane Lee was asked about it too, and how discouraging it can be to, playing this defense that played well early in the season and has kind of lost a step, kind of lost a bit of their swagger. And he says, yeah, it should be discouraging because we're not playing to the level that we want. And I think he gave a real answer there, because I think he was going to give a different kind of answer, but then he kind of dropped the facade for a little bit, and he was like, yeah, it is discouraging. We should be discouraged. This is something that's bothering us and something we just have to fix and get through. So, they're definitely going through some motions over there on the emotions, not motions, emotions on that defensive side of the ball, trying to get things right, in that film room, on the field, and on the and tape and all that. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of effort this unit comes out with, especially against a limping Buffalo team.
I think another time we saw some complementary football, which is what I think Lincoln Riley was mentioning, what they want to look for is the end of the first half against Cal. You have the Kalen Bullock interception, which leads to a USC touchdown. Of course, the way that came about, though, was USC not capitalizing on a stop by the defense. So I think it's kind of what Lincoln Riley's looking for, is for both squads to be firing at the same time. And when you're playing UCLA or Notre Dame or potentially an Oregon, Utah, or UCLA again in the Pac-12 title game, you're going to need both sides to compete, especially against some of these good offenses in the Pac-12. You need the defense to step up. One other player that we wanted to talk about today in instant analysis, Michael Jackson III. You, of course, had that great video in your field-level highlights of him scoring a long touchdown. Apparently, he did so again in practice today. What do you think about what Caleb Williams, Lincoln Riley, and others had to say about Mike Jack today?
The first thing that Caleb Williams said he kind of noticed about Mike Jack is that he's such a hard worker. And I can attest to that, going back when I was covering him in his recruiting cycle, was that Michael Jackson, he was part of that COVID class, and he didn't get to play his senior year. So what did he do? He focused on getting prepped with his father in terms of getting on campus early and being physically ready to compete at the college level. That was his mindset. I want to be ready to play from day one. And we've seen flashes from Mike Jack in practice, and the spring game his freshman year, everyone saw the connection he had with Jackson Dart. So the potential was always there. And what Lincoln Riley first saw was a guy who had confidence catching, would come to the ball, and that's it's a skill you look for in a wide receiver, and something that doesn't always pop out on the film or when you watch him in person. But it is a something that can separate a good receiver from a great receiver, and that's kind of the Mike Jack's trait. He's not the biggest, he's not the fastest. I mean, on that screen game, he looked pretty fast, but he's got confident hands, and that's one of the big keys in being a receiver. And right now, he's playing with so much confidence. I talked to him before the Cal game, and how his confidence is so much higher, and getting these opportunities and being able to showcase himself and make plays. It's Mike Jack's season right now, and I think we're all looking forward to see what he's going to do for another performance against this Colorado defense.
Yeah, two other wide receivers who I think are going to be names that are USC fans will recognize. Jordan Addison and Mario Williams. Lincoln Riley talked about them both today and where they stand in their injury status. Do you want to give the fans a little bit of an update?
Yeah, our first real injury update in 10 years, it feels like. But he said they're doing more, they're participating more, and they're really close. And that's all he would really say, is that they're really close. And he did note that, just because it's Colorado, they wouldn't necessarily hold anybody out. If they're cleared and they're healthy to play, they will play them. So that was kind of his message. So we'll have to see. They're both close. I would say Jordan Addison is closer than Mario Williams, but we'll have to see on Friday. I almost said Saturday. We'll have to see on Friday who comes out. But as we know, they have enough depth at wide receiver and playmakers to get it going.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference between kind of his aura around talking about injuries today and what he normally says, where he's saying, they're day to day. Today, it seemed like he was a little bit more, this is what I'm actually feeling, this is what we've seen. Obviously, they both suited up today in practice, not full participants yet, but yeah, I think he really meant it that they're close, as opposed to maybe sometimes in the past where we haven't really believed what Lincoln Riley said about injuries.
Yeah, he did seem a little bit more open about it, but still pretty close. But he said they're close, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, we'll see if there are any more injury updates throughout the week of some of the USC's other injured players. Chris, do you have any more thoughts before we wrap up this instant analysis?
No, the sun's beating down on me, so I want to get out of here.
All right, well, that's your fault for wearing the rain jacket, but that's all we've got for you guys today. Make sure you're checking out the website, uscfootball.com. Subscribe here on YouTube for interviews from today. We had Caleb Williams, the rest of the USC captains, and Lincoln Riley. You can listen to those full interviews right now on the page. For Chris Treviño, I'm Jack Smith. This has been Instant Analysis. Check out uscfootball.com for more.